Salam alaikum kamu.
Salam alaikum kamu.
Fahami family, welcome our Facebook viewers. This is a live broadcast we are doing from the Fahami Temple of Divine Understanding, World Headquarters here in St. Louis, Missouri. And we have a wonderful presentation for you today. Our Sheikh Amsi Manura will give you a good understanding about our noble ancestors. Please, please stand up and let's welcome our noble Sheikh Amsi Manura. Yes, sir.
All of you sons and daughters of the Most High. Glad to see all of you here. Have a seat. Please be seated. Good morning to you all in video land. We would love to have you here with us, but you're here with us in spirit. Thank you. My lecture today I entitled Our Noble Ancestors. And it's a lecture to keep in line with keeping our people in tune and aware with themselves, because we are still in this time, in this day, in this age, still on a search for our true selves. Most of our people are still wondering about who they really are. Some know, some think they know, but most do not know. So we're still on the lectures containing information to help them in their search for their true identity. La ilaha illallah, Fahami Rasul Ilahira. Listen closely, listen attentively, and bear in mind all that is being said. The Magus, meaning the magician, is standing in the attitude of the willpower about to act. He is dressed in white, which is the emblem of purity, with a circle of gold around his brow, the emblem of eternal light. He holds in the right hand a scepter tipped with a circle, the emblem of creative intelligence. He raises this scepter towards heaven to indicate his aspiration to wisdom, science, and moral force. Moral force. His left hand points towards the earth to show that he is ready to dominate over matter. In front of him, on a cube, is the image of absolute solidity, or found a cup full of human passions, a sword, the weapon of the brave ones who fight error, Finally, a golden pentacle, meaning a piece of money, the emblem of the reward granted to voluntary labor. His belt is a snake biting its tail, the symbol of eternity. The ibis upon the Q typifies vigilance. This arcane, this secret, this knowledge means for anyone who gathers it, it means that you are working for a firm will and confidence in yourself, guided by reason and the love of justice, shall lead you to the object of your ambition and save you from the dangers along the way. Hear now, hear again, O my beloved sons and daughters of Ethiopia. We Fahamis are disciples of the Fahami prophet, God's messenger to the Kemites, Ethiopians, and so-called Negroes of this age. He introduces full ancestral worship to African Americans for the first time in the history of the world. A teacher and apostle of a new Ethiopian African American culture and religion. He declares that none of the present-day religious systems in their present forms are of any use to Kemites, Ethiopians, as well as African Americans. They are doing our people no good as a nation, as a race. None of the present-day religious systems. Our race and our religion must be the same thing. As you cannot separate race from religion and culture, neither can you separate race from language. O Ethiopia, know this, that it will come to pass that even your enemy will one day bow down to you and show you the greatest respect. Nothing but Islam will make you a dignified and respectable people. So welcome your own God, accept Islam, the religion of Isis, kneel in honor. Knowledge of the primal strength and weaknesses of each world group. I said we must have knowledge of the primal strength, meaning the basic strengths and weaknesses of a people. We must have knowledge of the basic primal strengths and weaknesses of each world group. And we must have possession of these things, and the world leadership must have possession of before them, or the people in the world will continue to run around and go astray. The reason they're running around and going astray is because they don't have knowledge of each other. Without this knowledge, international councils cannot intelligently assign each race to its rightful place in the consummation of Allah's plan of the ages. If we don't teach others, if we don't show each other the right way that they should go about their lives, chaos will continue to reign in the world. Without this truth, the nations cannot put over their programs. The world's wars prove that their nations have little international stability. The world's securities and diplomatic relations are propped up. Nothing is really stable. Nothing is really what it's supposed to be. Everybody is faking. Everybody is faking. Look at the mockery that our president has made of the office. He has just made it a clown show. Because in the work, and you prop these different governments and creeds and doctrines up before the people. And the reason they do this, and this reason is chaos, the real history of mankind is not a part of the general knowledge of the world. I say the real history of mankind is not a part of our general knowledge in the world today. We are discounting factors most needed to secure world balance. When you start looking at the different things that's going on in the world and you ask people, where did mankind start? The first thing they tell you is Greece. This right there starts leading the people off in a totally foreign direction, one that they should not be going in. Because for those who do know the truth, Greece didn't start, civilization did not start with the Grecians. Civilization did not start with the Romans. But this is what Western, so-called Western society would have you believe. Always. So we must start teaching the correct origin of mankind, the correct foundations of civilization. And Amun, who is Amun, the Ancient of Days, was there and is here now to guide those over whom he rules. So you must will the mood of your gods, for all things are possible to him that wills. And make your affirmations daily in the name of your gods. Islam, Fahami Islam, and culture develops powers and leadership. The black man has to make a home for himself. Fahami is an adaptation of the ancient Islam for the Ethiopian American. The Holy Fahami Rasul informs us that our culture is not of the Jew, nor of the Mohammedan, nor of the Christian. He tells us we must reach our Islam, our peace, in our own way. Fahami will help you believe in yourself and release your inner powers. We are asking the people to go on an exploration trip with us into the past. You won't be inclined to get revenge for anything that has happened to you. I mean, you won't be going out there to kill somebody else for something they done did to your people in the past. Fahami is not about that. For your family or your race, you will not be inclined to be vengeful or revengeful. Fahami will save you from such problems. Go back and study and get knowledge and understanding. We as a race are culturally dead. We can't explain why we are so destructive, so jealous of one another, don't have respect for each other's property, and wander around trying to cash in on what someone else instead of supporting our own ancestors and their culture. Old ideas of space, dimension, mathematics, and others need a new interpretation. Just as talismans became dollars, incantations became songs, and charms developed into mental science, so must other changes be. Nor should the ancients be forgotten. For God loves respect for your ancestors. There will be no judgment day, nor general resurrection, for all do not die at once. Those possessing soul strength rise at death, while others sleep on for a while. The nickname Negro is in truth the Kemite, the Ethiopian, the Hamite, the Cushite, and the African American. There is no such people as Negro. The so-called Negro doesn't have any ancestors. This is technically speaking the only so-called descendants that the so-called Negro might have is forefathers. The Negro doesn't go back far enough to have any ancestors. The Negro wasn't invented until around 1600s, right here in what's called these United States of America. Before then, it wasn't any such thing, or any such people called Negro. So-called Negroes, technically speaking, don't have any ancestors. They might have some descendants that just go back to 16-something. But that's all. We have to, Negroes, so-called Negroes must understand, if they're going to understand who they really are, they have to go back to ancestor land. Go way back. Go away. Our prophet entails and informs us that the black man has always been with us, but not the Negro. Wholesale slavery and foreign cultures brought about the Negro. So please, black people, you are not a Negro. And don't let no one classify you as a Negro. Our noble ancestors knew the secrets of soul force, the earth and air, the visible and invisible regions, water and fire, were all subject to the power of spells. They brought the spirits of the dead back to torment the living. Sorcerers held frequent relation with all these evil spirits and owed much of their power to them. The knowledge of the priests of magic brought about this communication entirely by means of a spiritual frenzy and sacred words. They used the power of their formula and the help of the spiritual beings of the good, of the noble principle. Many of their incantations were designed to repulse the wicked demons, to break diabolic spells, and to invoke this work by the aid of the noble, pure spirits. The new knowledge of our ancient ancestors, revealed by the Holy Fahmy Prophet, is intended to teach those of our race to become masters of themselves, to master their lives, to take control of their destiny, and to give the future of the race and nation guidance. You must see to it that you organize your lives and families properly before extending, before implementing the use of your new abilities, your new knowledge in the world. Think first. Train yourselves first. Practice first. Just don't learn how to do things and then go out there and start using them without knowing what could be the results of what you are, quote unquote, unleashing unto the world. Be careful with the knowledge that you have gained. So be careful before implementing the use of your new abilities, your new knowledge into the world. What is faith without the realization of oneself? To follow Fahamiism without being educated in its science of mind, one will never create in the mind that I am a race like others, a beginning of my own. What is action without faith? Action without faith kills the courage to do. It is dangerous to pretend. Quit playing, my brothers and sisters. It is dangerous to play. What is imagination? Imagination means to build the soul. He who can create and materialize his thoughts, he indeed has become a God. What is wealth without efforts? Wealth without a use for it will enslave the mind. In other words, you will become a hermit, a lover of gold instead of race. How must one go about to achieve the realization of oneself? By giving up all that he has learned and join the school of understanding, a scientific mood of the gods. Know your foundation and know yourself. Prophecy. The governors are in league with forces yet unknown, and the invaders shall be put to rout. None of the known powers are going to help the king, nor will they help the governors, nor will they help the queen. Their help shall come from those considered weak, and cowards shall be made to conquer. Fahami Rasul. But know ye this, the gods and goddesses are mild in manner and speech, full of goodness and mercy, helpers of others in distress, speaking words of wisdom and understanding, clean in body and in mind. These are the same. I said these, those same ones that our noble prophet was talking about, who are mild in manner, speaking of others in distress, speaking words of wisdom and understanding, clean body and mind. These are the same Fahamis who were the holy pharaohs, to whom the Most High God did reveal all wisdom and science and knowledge. The same Kemites, the Ethiopians, are the beginning of masonry. The hallmark or the trademark of Ham, which is Ethiopia, has become the trademark of the world. African Americans are Masons by birth, for the founders of Masonry are his forefathers. It is their natural culture. What ails the people? What ails the people, whether white or black, who go about the streets without dignity, shooting each other, stabbing each other, killing each other, using the vilest language known to man? Yet they say, we are modern, we are civilized. Nay, they are not civilized, but violators of every law. All of those conditions can be healed through the teaching of moral laws. Moral laws are not being taught today in the churches nor in the schools. Look at the churches. You go off in them now, the sisters are still going in there with skirts up around their ankles, up around their waist. No moral sense whatsoever. They leave their bosoms out, legs all out, just showing everywhere. No kind of morality. Morality run amok. Let us go back. Let us go back to our noble ancestors, the world's great civilizers who trod the land of Ham. The king was so holy that he could not be called by name, but rather by the name of his stature, among others, and his palace. Hence, he was called God, or Pharaoh, or Guz, or Jaize. Therefore, we for homage respect all of the saints, saviors, and prophets of the world. All holy books we respect, all religions we respect, and all gods and goddesses. It is a natural thing to fear that of which one has no knowledge. However, when truth and understanding are made clear, as is being done today through the teachings contained in this book, the Holy Fahami Gospel, you have no reason for fear. Our so-called leaders, I said our so-called leaders, by mixing up truth with lies, help to maintain this fear among our nation, among our race. Our so-called leaders help keep us in darkness, help keep us afraid, mostly with that hell story. All the way, eternal, forever. Them two words are very strong. Forever and eternal. Burning forever, burning eternally. That'll stir the socks off anybody. This prophet, the Holy Fahami Rasul, claims to be guided by permission of the Most High, by the angel of his race and the spirits of his noble ancestors. Every people has its own prince or master angel. The clock of God is the true calendar. The movements of the planets is the clock of God. The rest of the holidays are ordained by men and not God. Hence the need of a new religious and educational system. The Hamites built mountains in India. Even in these places they built towers of Babel, or doors or gates to God or heaven. Observatories, planetariums, where they watched the stars and planets, recorded eclipses, and perfected the science of astronomy. All of which were necessary at that time. This was our heaven and our earth of old. Now we must build a new heaven and earth by the grace and spirit of the Almighty God. He will educate us to the highest and provide for us abundantly. If we remember that His Spirit is always among us. Don't forget that. His Spirit is always among us to guide us and protect us. But we seem to forget that time. God is with us 24/7, every day of the year for all time. Remember that. Remember that. If we just remember that His Spirit is always among us, He will be our God, He will be our guide, and we shall be His sons, gods and goddesses. He who knows his own foundation knows how to build. It is entirely justified for man to want to be equal to man. It is justified for man to love the brotherhood of man. Furthermore, it is justified for man to love freedom for himself. For freedom is essential to life, and to love justice for himself. For without justice, there is no joy in freedom and equality. Can you say, "Oh, my beloved sons and daughters of Ethiopia," can you say that you are enjoying freedom, justice, and equality in our world of today? For honey to you all.